Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. We are live, coming to you from the original ADP studio, aka my old bedroom, featuring this bit of hair, not obey my rules. Shout out to the stray hairs. That makes sense. How's everyone doing? I'm excited to join you all today. I'm excited to join you most days. Wednesdays and Mondays now. That's a weird way of saying that. Mondays and Wednesdays, we'll keep it that way, are literally some of my favourite days now. They make me happy. I was really worried about starting this lunchtime clinic. Hello, Kat. Oh my god, literally. I was supposed to message you back yesterday and I saw your message and I was like, I must message her back. I've just seen you now and it's literally just jogged my memory. I was like, text her in the morning, don't wake her up now. So my apologies. How are your legs? Because mine are dying. And I'll get into that later. I'll explain why my legs feel so awful. And potentially Kat's too. Although, Kat, I'm hearing you went and did some extra exercise afterwards. You went and walked your dog, I imagine. So your legs hurt and one bum cheek. One bum cheek, that's funny. That means that you was overworking one side more than the other. You can have one incredibly perked bum cheek. Shout out. That's what we want. So, today. That's one of those, like, things that I do that really annoys me that I do it. So. Today. Where's my book? So well prepared, as always. You know me. How is everyone doing? I suppose it's good to wait for this bit of time so people can actually join the chat. Lovely day yesterday. I agree. Oh, lovely. A couple of hours in the woods with Leia, Milena, Ben, and Arthur. I bet that was lovely. My word. Kudos to you for being able to do that exercise again. My legs. So how my day went after. First, I best probably explain what we were doing in the first place. So the lovely Reese from Brotherhood Legion and Sisterhood, which now caters to the ladies of Leicester. It is a community interest. There's a word for it. A community interest initiative, if you like. And what he does is provides really healthy alternatives to life. You can connect with the people that he arranges things with. He's a really uplifting and motivational guy, and by the sounds of it, has really like turned his own life around and is now catering to the community. One of the things that he does is on a Sunday is a free exercise circuit training thing. And for us training for this Tough Mudder, which I am terrified for, everyone I speak to is like, good luck. I cannot recruit another soul. I don't really understand what's happening there. I think I've made a big mistake. So yesterday went to start for it, start training for it. Thankfully, Reese has this awesome gym that would attend and train with him, and he was so like lovely and motivating and good at spurring you on, everything you want out of a personal trainer, right? but it was such a wake up call. If I'd have let my normal ADHD brain do what it normally does and not prepare, um, it's is that boobs in the chat? I'll take boobs in the chat. That's fine. Um, yeah, if I do the normal thing that my ADHD brain, which is distracted like I am right now, and leaving it to the last minute, right? I'm famous for being like, it's not happening anytime soon. I've got time. I can wait. And before I know it, it's a week before the thing, and I'm having to cram studying or a load of prep work, something that I was supposed to do to get this thing done. If I'd have just started it earlier, I'd have had plenty of time. Annoying. Thankfully, I didn't do this time. It's not until July, the Tough Mudder, which is a mud obstacle 5K run, if anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about. So, doing that exercise yesterday, it was just 3 rounds of a circuit. I suppose that's what a circuit is, right? You do multiple rounds. And oh my God, I got home. I know that you're supposed to feel achy the next day, and it's like good, like, oh, yeah, it reminds you you've done some work. I did not get, I didn't have to wait till today. Today is bad, don't get me wrong. But yesterday I got home, went in the bath, put my cream on, lay on my bed for 5 minutes while my cream dried. And as I went to get up, my legs were like concrete. I'm not even joking. I was terrified for my life. And I'm trying to work out, like, I was sold on the idea that this exercise would make my body better, more healthy. It feels 10 times worse. What on earth is happening? No pain, no gain. I agree. Uh, oh, I don't know if you pronounce that Rena or Raina, but hello. You can't wait. I can wait. I'm not gonna lie. I'm wanting the training time to last for a very long time. So if you have a particular sports discipline or exercise that you're an enthusiast of, or you actually are a professional trainer of some sort, there's a wide spectrum of people that enjoy sports, partake in sports, and train others to do sports. And I don't do any of those. The most sports I watch is poker, if you can call that. I don't really watch any of that. So I'm looking for anyone that wants to help us train. It's me and Lindsay who we do the normal podcast with. This is just the lunchtime live clinics. Um, Lindsay's way more active than me, but she would be having foot surgery on the 12th of this month. And so coming off of that, she's going to be, I don't know, I want to say struggling, but she's probably going to do way better than I can without any kind of operation getting in my way. I'm going purely off not exercising for a very long time. But I think it's going to be fun. Right, Kat? Right? Everyone I've spoke to, I'm not even joking. There's the lady next door. She exercises regularly, every single day, and has done most of my trip, like knowing her my whole life. She was like, good luck. That was the worst thing I ever did. I was like, shh, man, don't say that. Leonie, hi. Hello, guys. How are you? I'm fine, apart from my legs and my stomach being very sore from exercising yesterday. I'm perfect. Um, oh, I'm perfect. I mean, I don't know if I said perfect because it was just in my mind or because you, Rainy, put perfect there. uh, Dwight K. Shroot. Do I actually have Dwight in my chat? Oh my god, like, no way. I mean, I'm gonna assume it's not you, but I'm gonna pretend it is. Mind over matter. Do you know what? I thought it would be mind over matter, and I was hoping that it would be. It might still be that, but I don't exercise at all. And do you know what would happen? You know, people are like, oh, you can just run around the obstacles if you can't do them. That'd wind me up more. The fact that I had all the time to train, and now I can't even partake in things that. Do you know what I mean? Say hi if you can hear me. Hi, Rudy. Um, or say hi if you can hear Mister. I can't hear Mister, but I can hear you. I can read you. The English language and then trying to be online and make stuff is ridiculous. But I digress, and we move on. We carry on. Kat says we'll motivate each other. We most certainly will. I agree. And one thing I will say about doing that yesterday in a group is so much easier to like hold yourself accountable, to keep that discipline. You know, if I was left to do that and just follow the instructions, none of the exercises were stuff that I hadn't seen before or heard of or couldn't have worked out via a description or an illustration. I was showing you the picture of the illustration there. But it's the fact that you're in a group and everyone is exercising and everyone is moving around the different stations at the same time. It's uplifting, it's motivating. It stops me from quitting too soon. You know, the brain, like you say, mind over matter, the brain gives up way before the body does. Um, and I was able to really push myself to the point that I was like, my legs are hurting. I cannot breathe. I can taste blood. So unfit, ladies and gentlemen. I seriously do not stop exercising. Do not stop moving. It's so good for you. You know that. You didn't need me to explain that to you. That's really obvious, right? So, what are we talking? So, just like someone hit the some sort of emoji when I do that. Give me some like emoji every time I go. So, what have I been up to? So, what have I been up to? Well, I'm obviously going to keep doing it. So, medication. Appreciate it. How does this only have 3 likes only? I don't know. I mean, I do know. I'm a teeny tiny channel with a crack in my screen, which kind of makes this happen. And also, my face appears sometimes in other directions. I think she's down here right now. I'm not in a proper studio. I don't have my cleavage out. There's many reasons. It could also be that I'm just not that entertaining. But the goal here is really not for me to be entertaining, really. It's to offer my services. Again, nothing to do with my body. I am a psychotherapist and I love helping people. I hate charging people to help them. And it's what started me really being able to lean into this with a different human design. Different Human Design, for anyone that's new here, is a non for profit. It's an organisation where we advocate, support, and offer resources for people who feel different in this world, whether that's due to neurodivergence or identity in terms of sexuality, gender, um, ethnicity. For any reason that society might have othered you, we help to for you to gain your authentic self and to be confident in who you are and to not mask in this dreadful world that has been forcing you to mask way too often. Um, so if you've got any questions, if you want to know anything, please pop your questions in the chat. Awesome boob emojis, whatever makes you feel happy. I can handle it. But yeah, please do. And like I say, I always say this, and I will always say this continually, that if I don't know the answer, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to try and make myself look like I know something just for the sake of being on camera and creating content. One thing that I abide by is the idea of you might be at risk, that my clients might be at risk, so I never share stories and details or anything about them. Similarly, if I, yeah, like I say, if I don't know the answer, I'm not going to lie to you and put you at risk. I will say to you, I don't know this answer. And I'll either direct you to someone that I know has a perfect like resource for you, or much more information, that knows way more about it than I do, or I will go away and have a learn for myself. I love to learn things. Every day is a new chance for learning, as they say. Do I work at the doctor's? I unfortunately don't work at the doctor's. I don't know why I said unfortunately there. So my doctor's doesn't offer counselling. Um, I work in a multitude of places. So there are different hospitals across the Leicestershire and Rutland, and outside of that, there is a lot of connections to the hospitals in surrounding areas. So Lincoln, Derby, Nottingham, they all talk to each other because it's easy to refer people if there's certain resources that you need in one or the other. So I do a lot of driving, going around to all of them. I offer, sorry, this keeps wobbling, compassionate therapy, compassion focused therapy, and I use a lot of expressive, creative materials. Um, but my goal here is to open up my own practice, and ideally have funding so that people aren't expected to pay for it, and it can be free to the my community, to the public, basically. That's how I believe mental health care should be. And getting on a waiting list or even accessing such services right now is a little bit difficult because they're just not there. Shout out to the NHS. You are amazing and we want to keep you around, but right now it's not working at its optimum peak. Um, you've never heard what word, may I ask? I have a 14-year-old with high anxiety. We've been through a lot over the past 4 years. I'm sorry to hear that. We think COVID has contributed a lot, and he is homeschooled now. Um, COVID, I think, we say, there's a personal thing with us, that the world is absolutely crazy. COVID broke so many people's minds for so many different reasons. And anxiety is definitely something that people have adopted post COVID days. I know for me, I was very busy in my university work, um, that I didn't really understand what was going on around me. It was only when I kind of looked up and it had been a few months into lockdown and I realised my partner's not been able to get loo roll for the past few months, and people are dying, the numbers are going up, you can't do this, there's different changes to what you can do and what you can't do. And on top of that, the government can't decide with the scientists. Um, and then when I finally did come out of it and I went round to the shops the first time, I visually saw that people, the average human person that was walking about this earth, was experiencing mental health issues that, sorry, that I'd experienced my whole life. That I know a lot of people who, experienced mental health issues before this. They were really starting to experience it themselves, and I was kind of like, not. And it sounds kind of like mean because it's like I hope now people will start to take mental health more seriously. Has that happened? Maybe. I'm hoping with this current government, with things getting ironed out. Who knows? Who knows? In terms of politics, we can't really trust how that's going to go. But a lot of misinformation caused a lot of people to have anxiety, like health anxiety, mistrust with doctors, which they're not helping themselves with, let's be honest. Um, but in terms of COVID that they're experiencing and having to be homeschooled from, I'd be interested to know how that anxiety is manifesting. Where is the anxiety necessarily coming from? Is it this idea of being poorly and being around other people that are poorly? This fear of catching it. Um, yeah, I'd be interested to know how that anxiety is playing out. Um, but for sure, anxiety is a very common anxiety, depression, this idea of isolation. For the first time, I was seeing people deal with social anxiety when they hadn't been around people for so long. They were now in their vicinity, acting very strange. You know, this idea of like social spacing, like distancing from each other. It was very strange. Um, how old are you? You're 14. If you think I'm 14, I'll be very, that's very nice of you. I'm 33 this year, but I'll take the 14. Um, she's got good genes, apparently. Uh, it's totally fear based, not about catching it, but school and other people. Right, okay, so this since COVID, your child, so it's not necessarily about COVID that their anxiety is. It has manifested since having COVID and since being in this environment that is more high risk of producing such anxiety in someone. Um, of like interacting with other people, where they're having a hard time at school. Um, I think school can be very terrifying, right? I know a lot of kids, right? It's the kind of, it's all they know. They don't know that past there is real life and work and responsibilities. And as a parent, you constantly are trying to tell your kid, like, I know better because I did it. Please, I promise you this is fine. Or please, I promise you that isn't okay to do. You can't do that. And we forget that all they know is their school, is their friends right now. That's so important to them. And if something isn't right there, um, it can impact on everything. Um, then there's also the other way around, right? How is home life? Um, if your kid's able to express to you how they're feeling, um, are they able to come to you at a time of need? It sounds like me that you very much care for your lovely 14-year-old and you're bothered that they've been through quite a lot. And as a parent, that's understandable, right? Um, it's such a different world from when I grew up in the 1990s. Home life is a safe place. Yeah, 100%. We're finding a lot that, especially during COVID, being at home, I think a lot of people realized how much they prefer being at home. This idea of the four walls being that safety. Um, you're free of judgment. You're free of scams, unless they're calling you on the phone. Um, the world is an increasingly more terrifying place. I agree. Just coming here today, my mum was like, "Where I am right now, it's my old bedroom," and she was like, "I've not left the door open. You got to text me because there's been a lot of robberies around." And yeah, crime is going up. I know that for me makes me a lot more fearful of the world. And then you look at why is crime going up, and you realize that it's because people are being pushed to their limits of how much they can accept in this life with such little opportunity, nothing going for them, no financial um, support, safety. And this makes people do incredibly terrible things that they wouldn't have considered if they hadn't been put in this situation. Um, so being mindful that life is different now compared to what your child might be experiencing now, you've already got that understanding. I know my mum will say things like, "Oh, I don't know what you're complaining about. My days were a lot harder because of X, Y, Z," and then in the same breath say, "Oh, it's not like it used to be. It was much better before." And they're two, they don't make sense to be saying together. Um, I think for a touch of our nostalgia, we can appreciate something like the 90s or the 70s for my mum. because it was an era that we grew up in, our brains developed in, and nostalgia is a very strong thing. It can make you look at the past with very rose tinted glasses. So I think it's amazing that you can identify that the world is a different place. Um, and the homeschooling, I think if you found that that is the best thing for your child, then congratulations and thank you very much for advocating for your child. I know there's a lot of rhetoric and a lot of talk right now, and I truly believe that if you are doing this purely for the well-being and well mental health of your child, because they are not in an establishment that is conducive to their learning, that it doesn't help them to develop. You know, if you have a kid that has particular needs that can't be supported, if your child has a particular type of uh, personality. I know for a lot of kids that I went to school with, just asking questions, teachers would get very angry because it almost questions their authority and it triggers them, rubs them the wrong way. And instead of getting an actual answer for why do we have to do this, you'd get told off, you'd get reprimanded. Um, and that's not really how we treat adults, is it? We like people to take their initiative and to think out the box and to not wait to be told and to question things. And it doesn't make sense to have that type of environment at a school. It makes zero sense. Um, One thing that I will say is obviously there's something that school provides, and that is that social aspect. And in whatever fashion is most comfortable to your child, I would strongly recommend seeing if there is some sort of socialization that could be happening. I know school could be pretty overwhelming, right? There's a lot of people, and even a special school that is equipped can still be quite overwhelming. So there's plenty of things like I'm not sure where you're based, but in the UK we have a lot of forestry schools that you can attend for 1 to 5 days of the week. There's certain groups, community initiatives that your kid can go and take place at. Uh, and you maybe sit down with another 2 or 3 kids, and you could be sewing, you could be drawing, you could be making a t-shirt, you could be writing music, playing stuff, but just understanding that even at 14 years old, that element of play is so vital because it to the outsider, it looks like you're just playing. It looks like you're just being silly and just having some fun. But to a young brain, playing allows a kid to practice social cues, certain behaviors, to learn how to navigate, to problem solve. And this is all this can all be observed when you watch your baby play, when you watch your toddlers play with each other. You know, they can sort things out, they can categorize things, and that's them learning, okay, this belongs to this group, this belongs to that. If they're making a structure out of something, it's problem solving. How do I get from here across to here? If I'm working with someone, if I'm playing with somebody, how am I sharing the toys? How am I checking in with the other person? You know, we don't just go around life parallel doing stuff next to each other. You want to be checking in. And these sort of things are so vital for your kids' development. And with you having a safe home, I'm almost certain that you've already got things like this in play. It's definitely the best option for him. The social aspect is definitely a challenge. Yeah, and I, the social aspect, like I say, for a lot of people post COVID, is a problem. It's very difficult. But one thing we say in counselling is that just because it is difficult, just because it's a challenge, doesn't mean it's something that we turn away from. If anything, things like that highlight our potential goals, things that we can work towards. And like I said, the goal doesn't have to be so socially inept, be so socially out there. that I want you to be an extrovert, and that he will turn out to be, I don't know, a community speaker in front of millions of people. Um, it's slightly unrealistic, right? And we don't want to place those unrealistic expectations onto our beautiful kids. We just don't. But just that idea of going to the next step, it's like, how many friends do we speak to? If it's one, can we see them an extra time? Can we do something with that extra friend? If we're very secluded and we don't see many friends, is there a way that we can do something to try and make friends? I know at 14, it's not like you're operating with a kid, right, where you can be like, come on, it's good for you. Um, they've got they've got personalities, full grown personalities, and they will tell you, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I don't want to do that. I'm a 14-year-old and I'm exercising my rights to say no. And that's where your communication comes into it, right? Um, Communicating that, look, sometimes we do things that we have to push ourselves and do it. And the only way that we get comfort from things that make us feel uncomfortable is by exposing ourselves to them gently, cautiously, incrementally, not hard hitting, go on, flood that emotion with too much trauma. The last thing we want to do is re-traumatize, right? His online gaming is a savior for him. Wait, shout out to my gamers. He has many friends to interact with. He also has a good role models throughout his family, so it's not all doom and gloom. Oh no, 100%. And here's the thing, anxiety, it's not doom and gloom. It's definitely not. We definitely try to not see it as the 100% it can, and when you're in the thick of it and you're in the trenches, yes, anxiety absolutely sucks. Um, but generally in our lives, there's things we can do, and talking about it doesn't make it doom and gloom at all. Um, Online gaming is fantastic. Again, it's almost like the homeschooling. People will argue that these kids need to get off these games because they're wasting their life. They're learning certain things that are violent. Game theory, right? That it's just, I don't know many studies that really can conductively show a significant contribution towards kids' negative behaviors in gaming. I think more what you can see is a type of kid that is more predisposition to having breakdowns, outbursts, that struggles with emotion regulation. These types of kids find a lot of emotion regulation through gaming. It's really hard to understand for someone that doesn't play games, or someone that comes from an era like my parents. The idea of playing a computer game and that being therapeutic to them makes no sense. It just stressed them out. And the online gaming community, as long as we're talking to the right community, right? Because there is different ones. There's your World of Warcrafts where people are extremely understanding and caring. This idea that quite a lot of people that feel othered again by society can take solace in a place like World of Warcraft, where they can roleplay as someone that they aren't. It allows them to engage in this play, like I say, where you can work things out, problem solve, practice your social interactions. And you get the benefit of doing that without having to show your face, without having to physically be in their presence and show how uncomfortable you can be around people. Not only that, if you're people, they talk over online now, right? So that's a lot easier. But if you're typing or you're texting, it gives you a chance to be able to think, what would I say? The only problem, oh, and I'll say that after. there's the other on type of online, right, where it's your Call of Duties, it's your GTA 5s, where just the lobbies in these games are full of racism, fascism, sexism, just the worst kind of dialogue. I don't know if you've ever logged into a Call of Duty um, lobby. It's mind blowing, and if you Google it, YouTube it, you'll be able to see yourself if you haven't got access to get onto it yourself, or a kid that will show it to you. If you have a kid that has Call of Duty, I'm telling you, when you next see them, say, "Could you just show me what these people say in this lobby?" Um, it's it can be very harmful, and it's not that it can um, convince a kid to be violent. Just that exposure, constant exposure to such negative things, we worry that it can then lead them down to a path of something else. So a big problem right now is that toxic masculinity idea, right? Of your Andrew Tates and um, these gym bros and crypto bros, and this is what you need to be doing to get women, to get money. Uh, it just got insane, didn't it, online with all these people. Lindsay, bless her, she's teaching 13, 14, I think up to like 16-year-olds, and they are saying these things out loud. Like, "Miss, women can't drive, can they?" And she's like, "What year are we in?" It was really taking a hold, and it was really grabbing these kids that A, struggled with social interactions. So they're already at high risk of being easily manipulated because they don't understand how that can play out in a relationship. There's the idea of being just emphatic about this idea of like, I can be cool. I can be someone I'm not. I can have the money. I can have the girls. It's kind of a good sell to young men, right? That are going through puberty and not quite understanding what their hormones are wanting out of them. It's confusing. So, yeah, I try not to do the gateway thing. I don't believe weed is a gateway to harder drugs. I don't believe GTA is a gateway to actually stealing a car. Um, it's more the desensitization of it. The idea of them viewing this thing and just thinking, that's okay. Does that make sense? Yeah, I'm fully aware of COD and its downfalls. Unfortunately, I think we are going to go down the medication route for anxiety. Hopefully, it's a short term thing. So, for anxiety, I actually take medicine myself. If you've never been here before, it still blows my mind. Like, is this Dwight? Is this Dwight? um, when you say unfortunately going down the medication route, I feel like it's a perspective thing, right? And especially when it's for your kid, the idea of giving your kid a chemical composition to change their brain, if that's the way you view it, that can be very troubling. That perspective is very harmful. Um, but I promise you that I understand there's probably a lot of shame and an outside influence. This idea of if you can't manage it yourself, um, oh, you're relying on medication. When some people say, oh, you just need to get some good sleep, you just need to exercise more. Like, oh, you're still drinking milk, that'll be the reason. Like, there's so many outside reasons for why you shouldn't take medication. And I strongly disagree with it. Medication, for other things, we don't question, right? Like, if you were to say my kid has type 1 diabetes, we would never question the insulin as unfortunate, right? We'd never see that unfortunately he has to have insulin. Um, we're like, okay, this is what you have. If you have a headache, it's not like, unfortunately, I had to take a paracetamol. And it's very hard to understand that we've been ingrained to think this way, right? That mental health medication is a farce, it's a scam, it's a way for big pharma to get money out of you. And I'm not saying there isn't a problem with medications. There is definitely a problem with the way that antidepressants are prescribed, how easily they're given to people. Um, but in terms of actual anxiety medication, for one, is, for me, I found fantastic. I didn't understand quite how it would work. But the idea that my brain isn't naturally creating the chemicals that it needs, all these medications will do is allow for that right amount to be created. And something like most anxiety medication is something that you build up over time. So they'll say to try them and to wait about a month or two to see how they're working. After that, um, if they're not working, we can stop them. We can try them again. It does not alter your DNA, your hormones. It does not change anything in you long term if you were to stop them. So if it's got to the point where you're considering medication, then I strongly recommend that you go full force with it. Go and talk to your doctor, see what they can do. Is there a psychiatrist that they could be referred to rather than your GP? Um, if you feel a lot more comfortable with a GP, I know I generally can. But anxiety is something that a lot of GPs have been helping with. You know, it's not your bipolar, it's not your schizophrenia, it's not your ADHD even. Um, Doctors are a lot more better with the understanding anxiety and prescribing it. And again, with the medical model, we prescribe the lowest dosage of the weakest form of medication, and then you try it upwards. So you'll never be given something that's like, whoa, knocks your socks off and you just don't need. Um, oh, oh, bless you. No, I agreed. I just mean I wish he would overcome it. There is no shame. I mean no offense. Oh, I know that 100%. And I'm sorry if I gave you the impression that um, it's something that you shame him for. I'm sure that's not the case at all. When I talk about shame, it's a lot more internalized. This idea of society having these expectations, what we should be like, what our young sons should be like, right? Are they out there living their life? Are they the lad? Have they got tons of mates? Are they doing all these sports? Are they doing like? Are they achieving things? And realistically, for a lot of our kids, it's just not them, and they need a little bit more help, a little bit more support. And honestly, it's just a case of as long as you're there helping them, you're supportive whenever they need to talk more, that you're there. That's the best you can do. And in terms of overcoming it, it may be something that he's able to get a better grasp of. But I know for me, anxiety, even with medication, isn't something that has disappeared. It is something that I learn to deal with every single day, and I have to actively make the choice to focus on observing my anxiety, because it's not like you can get rid of it, but I can notice when it's there, how I can then navigate it in a healthy way that's conducive to my environment, right? Um, I can regulate my emotions. It's just sort of things that you learn to adapt with it, and medication can make that a lot easier. It can make the symptoms feel a lot less severe. Um, and it gives you that chance to be able to adopt these helping mechanisms, these ways that help you maintain a uh, mental health, healthy mental health. It's so hard reading comments and trying to talk at the same time and having ADHD. Um, yeah, in terms of, yeah, there's no rush, right? I know for you, you see your son and you just want him to be having the best life that he can. Um, and that's very sweet of you. I think it makes me feel happy that there's parents out there that are really invested in their kids' mental health, um, take it seriously. I wasn't diagnosed until I was 21 with bipolar, ADHD, and anxiety. Um, I complained to my parents about feeling different, about my brain not working the same as I thought other people's did, and she'd just tell me to get over it. I was actually threatened with boarding school. I wish I had the knowledge to be like, you can't afford that. Throw it back in her face. But the truth is, she just didn't understand. She isn't from a generation that had any of this information to hand. I'm still arguing with us with certain things right now, despite being well versed in it. Um, so a lot of my shame came from that. I went to the doctors privately without my mum knowing to try and get some help. They gave me antidepressants, and I brought them home, and I was like, it just doesn't feel right. You know, these tablets. There was a lot of shame. What's wrong with me? But then not taking the tablets and remaining feeling the way that I was feeling, that in itself also causes shame. It allows you to feel that, like, I don't feel right. I don't feel like I have a place in society. Um, he had CAMS appointments, but they are not great, to be honest. It's so that's annoying to hear, because CAMS is obviously the people that you want to be giving you the resources and the help that you need. Um, what's not great about them? Are you in an area that's quite quiet, that's quite remote, um, or is this just CAMS really being awful? Um, I know CAMS is going through a little bit of a change, I believe. Um, CAMS, for anyone that doesn't know, it's just the name for the NHS services that treats young people for mental health difficulties, emotions, behavioural problems. Um, but again, any branch of the NHS right now is going through it. We just don't have the doctors, we don't have the staff, we haven't been training. That's the raw end of it. You're taught that it's migrants taking your job. You're taught that it's, I don't know, big pharma, all these different things. But the truth is, we had a referendum that sent home a lot of our valued employees that were trained abroad, and we brought them over here and got them working and then sent them home, rather than really fulfilling the workforce here by training people. My wife has just been diagnosed with BPD, so life at home is fun and games. I appreciate people. I'm not laughing at. I'm here with your humour. I appreciate people like you spending your own time and emotions on others. Cam's just not great at getting him to engage. Yeah, I know what you mean. So the Cam's not great for him to engage. It's that 14-year-old age, right? It's very hard to get them to do anything they don't want to do, whether they struggle with mental health or not. Let's be honest. But then also being put in that environment where someone's like, and how do you feel? Okay. A 14-year-old can see straight through that. They're like, what are you doing? That's mid, or whatever they say. Um, I, I'm trying to think of something that would be better for him. So one thing that we used to run every last Friday of the month with a different human design was a community meetup group. I said that way too fast. Community meetup group. And it was just a place for you to be yourself. If you wanted to make friends, people were there welcoming you in. If you wanted to just sit and be on your own, but know that other people are there and you're not completely alone, you could do that. If you wanted to make friends, but you weren't sure how, you'd let us know as you came in, and we'd make that effort. We'd let people know, like, right, we've got a new member here. He needs our love, support. Let's show them how great it is here. And we had different people bring in their own hobbies. So for neurodivergence in particular, there is we have our special interests. and we go hard for our special interests, whether that is World of Warcraft, like I said, Dungeons and Dragons, whether it's fossils, uh, herbs, cooking, anything. We could all spend different weeks bringing in our interests, sharing them with the group, and we were learning new things from each other. There was people that were knitting, learning from other people. There was people planting seeds together. It was really nice, and it wasn't this very formal like, and what do you and how do you feel? But at the same time as doing these things, we could have these conversations. My only thing with that is that was 18 plus. But I don't see why that shouldn't exist for younger kids. You know, that mid range. I'm saying mid. I'm quite well versed in my youth language, don't get me wrong. You sound like you've got a lot going on, my love. A wife with a borderline personality disorder, I'm assuming that is. And may I ask, have you got anything? What's in your box of tricks? Because it seems like your family, your household is brimming it. I'm trying my best to get him into golf. You can imagine the outcome. Golf. This is the female coming out in me now. You know, my problem with golf, and I hold my hands up, it's a personal one. My dad would take me. I only saw my dad once every other weekend. He used to take me golf to be his caddy, to film him practicing his drive. Like, I didn't get to play. So when I hear this, I hope when you say trying to get him to play, you are helping him to get him to play. But at the same time, golf is like, from gaming to golf. Have you ever tried golf on the Wii? I used to love golfing on the Wii. It's a good middle ground. I don't know if you could meet there. I was not coming for golf. I imagine it's something that you're very much into. And any sport, let's be honest, is good. At least it's not cricket. But yeah, it's just finding something that what can you do? Maybe it is something together. One thing that we're doing, we did it last year and we've restarted it this year, is a different resolution. What is a different resolution, Steph? Oh, I'm going to tell you. So this was last year's. I've all decorated it. I can't see you and look at the thing. So there's the thing. What this is we realised that we were setting ourselves goals for like New Year's resolutions. And by this time of the year, I'd just given up. And we were talking to people and most people had also. And it gets to like July and you're like, oh, I had that goal in January to get, I don't know, a bikini body, holiday ready for, and you're like, again, it's this keeping up with yourself and doing stuff early enough that it actually gives it time to be useful rather than waiting till the last minute to be able to try something. So what this does is it gives you 12 prompts throughout the year that you can use to try new things. So on this page here, it says things like a week without something, a week with something, do something totally new, a month without something, a month with something, go somewhere new, learn a new something, pick up where you left off, try something new, do something purposefully, do a task that brings peace of mind, and do something that brings excitement. These 12 prompts, you can do them all in 1 month if you want, but you can also spread them throughout the year, and you can do them at whatever pace you want. But the idea that you have 12 reminders throughout the year to actually do something. The things that I did last year were kind of ridiculous. Lindsay tried Morris dancing. She was doing that all year. Um, I didn't drink alcohol all of last year. That was part of my thing for it. But the crazy one is I taught myself to roller skate at the age of 31, 31 and 32. That was last year. Um, and starting it beforehand, I was like, what am I doing? I'm too old to do this. And then a few months into it, I'm learning, I'm doing it, I'm having fun. And as I'm skating around, I'm like, why did I ever think this was for just people younger than me? It doesn't make any sense. And I'd have never have thought of doing that if it wasn't. I thought of trying to skate for years. But without this, it never really made it like solid. And the fact that it pushed me to do it and that I actually did it, I was like, yo, so we did it all year. Different prompts. And throughout the book, you can literally, there's opportunities for you to reflect and to tick off. This is like the month doing something. So you've got all the things you can tick. It was a game changer for me. And this is this year's one. It is exactly the same. I think there's a few different tweaks, a few little tweaks. And my goals for this year, again, there's Tough Mudder. I want to learn how to sign, or at least how much I can learn to sign in a month. There's a load of things. So if anyone's interested in getting one of them, you're more than welcome to. From my website, a differenthumandesign.co.uk, with 3 W's at the start of that. I'll put it in the chat below when I learn how to do that. But yeah, finding something that totally out there, new to both of you, could be an interesting thing. Doing something that you know and that he might not almost gives you that power dynamic, that disadvantage to him, because he's like, oh, you already know what you're doing. And it might seem to you like you're coming from a place of like, I know how to do this, therefore I can help you and instruct you, therefore this will go smoother. And I agree, and many times it is. But I think more importantly, that chance to learn something together, it creates a type of bonding that you probably haven't had since, I don't know, you met your partner, or you probably did with your partner quite a bit amount, to be fair. But yeah, it's vital. Learning to do something at the same time with someone else. You can have these emotions at the same time. You can have this confusion. You can have this like, what are we doing? Oh my God, I'm terrible at this. Oh my God, me too. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing worse than when we started roller skating, for example, it was just us and we hadn't done it before. The lovely Cat joined me. Lindsay eventually saw us doing it and was like, I'm going to get on that. And we had a lot of fun. Then we went to an actual skating rink and we were like, oh my God, there was nothing worse than seeing all these people that were so good at it, going around backwards, handstands, couples like doing like duo dances while skating, sort of thing. It was insane. It looked amazing. But it made us feel like I want to go right home right now. Traveling to other countries has been great for the family. Yes, yes, shout out! Oh my God, Dwight Schrute. Yes, yes. I can't agree enough. That socialization that I was talking about that you can struggle to not really get when it comes to homeschooling, something like traveling, it cancels that out completely. Oh my God, if you are traveling to other countries and learning about their cultures and you're enriching yourself with those different lifestyles while you visit them, fantastic. I know when people talk about getting a babysitter on holiday, it baffles me. It blows my mind. One, didn't know they existed. Two, They don't know how trusting I'd be, and I'm sure that there's plenty of people watching that are like, well, I hired a nanny from a hotel and she was fantastic. Not taking that away from you. I'd be too worried after like the Madeleine McCann, all that kind of stuff. We just don't want any of that potentially being a problem. Some people have family that stay behind to look after the kid while you go out. That's like not a bad idea, I suppose. But again, then you don't get to enjoy the time with the other adults that you came on holiday with. For me as a kid, and I don't know if this was a 90s thing, I went where my mum went. If she wanted to go to a drag queen bar, I went to a drag queen bar. If she wanted to go to some cabaret show on the strip of Benidorm, I was there. Karaoke that last all night. I was at these bars, sometimes in a pushchair, and strangers would be like, "Oh, can I take it?" And they'd walk me around the bar to get me to go to sleep. And again, life was very different back then. But the same sentiment lies that these kids, if you go abroad, you see that these kids are out late and they're mixing, and it's not like they're struggling with their education or they're really worse off for it. They socialise so well. Edinburgh and Barcelona, shout out. So we went to Edinburgh this summer to the Fringe Festival. We were offered to go and see a show by the lovely Pip, and I thought I had there it is. There's a bit of coffee on it, but we went to go and see this Character Flaw, which is all about Pip's experience of being queer and ADHD. It was very funny, very good. If you ever get a chance to see it, strongly recommend Character Flaw. And we interviewed her as well. That was a fun podcast. What did you do in Edinburgh? I'd love to know. For a 14-year-old, how do you, there's a lot of walking, right? And it's a lot of like hills. How do you manage that? Barcelona, I have never been to, and I would love to go to. There is a festival, Benicassim Festival, I believe. Is that even anywhere near? I just made that up. Benicassim Festival. Oh, it's in Benicassim. That would make more sense. Is it anywhere near Barcelona? You know, just ignore me. Just ignore me. Because if you were here last week, you'll know that I've just started my ADHD medication again after a year of not having them. And I was worried that I was going to be feeling nauseous like I did last time. This constant sense of like overstimulation and like I couldn't relax and unable to sleep and just feeling sick the whole time. Thankfully, touch wood, touching all the wood, it hasn't manifested like that this time. What's happened is, for the first few days, I could not concentrate on small things. That would make me feel sick and overstimulated. But generally in life, I'm doing better. I don't know if you've noticed. Again, if you're here from last week, I may be very distracted because my brain's actually able to focus on certain things. It's not quite filtering everything out. But I'm talking better. I am remembering what I'm saying. I forget it for a little bit and then it comes straight back. And I realised I was talking about Benicassim. I've changed now. Oh yeah, I was saying just because I can talk better now and I feel like my brain's functioning better, it doesn't mean my geography skills are any better. If you're just joining, I'm here to give mental health advice, mental health and well-being advice. Anything you might need help with, whether it's relationships, a situation that you are struggling with, get them in the chat. So I'm more than happy to help. It may seem confusing when I'm talking on about my medication. Coffee. You're right. Thank you, good sir. I needed that. There was something that I wanted to talk about. Black History Month being cancelled in America. Can you cancel a holiday? Can you stop people celebrating a certain holiday? Bit of a silly idea, isn't it? Bit ridiculous. I get worried because the next step, because I was seeing these getting rid of identity months, like the national month of. And if you know us and you've loved us and you've been here a while, a different human design and a different podcast, we love October, not just because it's Halloween, but because it is ADHD Awareness Month. And it's really vital for what the work that we do. It really helps us get seen. A lot of our content gets shared around that time. So that's very helpful. But I'm worried that if it goes further, this sort of thing will be no more. So yeah, that's just a little worry. A little mini worry, if you don't mind me. I also received a lovely email from Kelly last week saying that she was very thankful for our guidance on how to start university back this Monday with a better perspective, a better outlook. And she said that she's very excited to really try some of these societies, some of these groups that she can try at university. If you remember, she was, or just need a recap, she was struggling to make friends at university. She felt like she was too weird. People felt like she was too weird. And I asked her for some further clarification when she said she was worried she was weird. And that's why she was worried that's why her housemates didn't like her. Was she basing that purely on assumptions? You know, is that fearful assumptions coming out of her? Or was there any evidence to kind of back this up? Why would they think that? And she said that there was no evidence. She just felt like when she was in the room with them, that they'd instantly stop talking and the room would feel weird, as if she'd created that weirdness, that weird movement. And so I said, what were you doing in the room? She was like, well, nothing. I was just kind of keeping myself to myself. And I was like, explaining, you know, this image that we give off to people, this canvas, if you like, literally this picture that you give to people says a lot of things. We gain visual cues. About 70% of communication is non-verbal. So if you're coming into a room with your head down, not socializing, not wanting to interact, it can put others in the position of feeling like they're the problem and they're the reason you feel like this. And it's not conducive for bonding. But it can easily feel to both parties like it's the other one's problem. Realistically, there's things that both sides could be doing. If you are at university and you can see that there is someone that you live with or in next door rooms that you can see is a little bit lonely, that isolates themselves a little bit, and you're kind of like, I wish they wouldn't do that. I wish they'd interact with us more. And maybe even you've tried bringing them into the group and it's not worked. I just saw your message on alien invasion. It's brain ninjaed me. Let's change that. Right. My mini worry is alien invasion. Okay. I'm glad it's a mini worry, not completely taking over your brain. Like, are we sat there with a tinfoil hat on? How worried about alien invasion are we? So, my degree is in science, right? And not physics or chemistry or biology. A little bit of biology. I know. Why did I say no chemistry? Most of mine's chemistry. Why did I say that? Um, in terms of physical health, I'm pretty good at. Mental health, amazing. Out of space, terrible with, minus a few bits of information. Mid worried. Okay, so here's some facts for you that might be able to help you understand. The next sun from ours, Andromeda, is that right? That's the next galaxy. Okay, the next galaxy. That's what I need to get right. If we were to travel at the speed of light to Andromeda, bear in mind the speed of light, very fast, it would take us around 4 minutes. To get back would take, I mean, to go do it without the without going the speed of light, just going at our normal traveling speed, I think it'd take 2 million years. So if you can get there on the speed of light, 2 million years, 4 minutes. To get back, it would take another 2 million years. So if you were to do that travel, 4 million years would have passed on Earth. But for you, it could have potentially just been 9 minutes. Do you see what I mean? So we already have telescopes and different readers. What's the word? Signals and stuff that we can get data from. And we've recently, last year, 2 years ago, released an even bigger telescope, the James Webb telescope. And we can now see billions and billions of light years into the future, into the past, right? Because what we see is billions of light years in the past. God, time screws me up trying to talk about it. So we can see for all that time if there's any anomalies. Hey, K-Man, we're just talking about space. Scary indeed, yeah, it breaks my brain. And I'm not the mind to be explaining this. If there was something out there, we'd be able to see it already. So if it was to come to Earth, even if we could see it, it'd take ages for it to get to us. Not in our lifetime, or even in time for the world to still exist. Does that make sense? Which is also scary. I don't like that thought. I think the only way that there is any sort of alien invasion is if the one theory, right, that we already have it here, it's in the sea, whatever. More likely that it's some sort of drone, some sort of robot, some sort of technology that can withstand entering our galaxy's atmosphere and all that kind of, do you know what I mean? And be able to travel light speed. All this stuff would have to be a piece of technology rather than a person. I can't imagine actually traveling the speed of light. I'm sure you would fragment. Like, the speed of light, it only knows now. Do you understand? From the moment that the sun creates a beam to the moment it hits your butt cheek on Earth is instant. I just think it's incredible. It's insane. So, in terms of alien invasion, I'm almost certain we're going to be okay. So, why, you ask, is the US so openly talking about all these sightings, these markings? Yeah, exactly. What if it's already been here? The FBI, CIA, they're all releasing stuff, right? They're all talking about like drones in Jersey, um, unidentified flying objects which are now being reclassified as something else. Why is that happening? if everything I've just said about getting here and whatever, like, what do we mean by an alien technically? It's just someone from a foreign land. One, assuming they'd invade on a bad note is just placing human intention onto another being. um, that says a lot about us. Secondly, yeah, why are they talking about it now? Is it anything to do with the fact that there are potential wars happening that the West is increasingly becoming more involved in? Um, is it the fact that there is military equipment that is very hush hush that they test, need to be able to test out and stop opposing countries from learning about? Um, with us having mobile phones, going place, we have YouTubers that literally will break into places that you're not supposed to be. We can't have that, right? Out of fear of Russia, China, these places that we fear having this information. So, why don't we lean into the fact that there's aliens? Let's tell a bunch of people that don't trust us. Let's just let them believe that, I think. Okay, man, lovely to have you here for us. Oh, that's so sweet. You're so welcome. It's lovely to see you, K man. I hope it's going well for you. Um, yes, excellent. My wife won't talk aliens or politics. Do I get my daily fix or weekly? Politics and aliens. I mean, look, I can get on your nerves because I was saying to Lindsay yesterday, I'm worried because I present myself very much as a card carrying communist, but I'm not. I am not. I am a socialist. But I don't need you to be a socialist for us to be friends, if you know what I mean. Um, as long as you are not a card carrying or secret Nazi, right wing fascist sweetheart that I will still offer counselling to and can have compassion for. We just probably won't be mates, you know? But a good chat and politics. We don't have to agree. Often I prefer it that we don't fully agree. I love this nuanced talk. That's where I come into my own. Do you know what I mean? So, Mondays, Wednesdays, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. If you want to come and talk about politics and aliens and everything in between, I love a conspiracy theory. More importantly, I love understanding why is this a conspiracy? What is the real conspiracy underneath it, right? Because I do believe they are a tool to distract you, and meanwhile there's actually conspiracies going on that you're not looking into, right? Like, why would they want you to worry about war right now? We need you to focus on aliens. Because if you start thinking about war, then you start thinking about the victims. And then you start thinking about the amount of money that we spend doing these certain things. And then we think about how we don't really trust the government anyway, and it all becomes a little bit downhill. Um, Dwight Schrute, I've been told I'm a socialist. If you're actually Dwight Schrute, then so certainly not. Um, I believe I swear his family actually came from Nazi backgrounds. Oh no, Russia with the Secret Service. So the let's have a little moment. Socialism literally means that you hope for the means of production to be on in labor's hands. What we're seeing right now in capitalism is that you have the business owner at the top, and then underneath is a load of people that are paid way less compared to the amount of money that they actually produce for the company. So socialism is the idea that if we all mutually own the things within our life, so the doctors, the libraries, the hospitals, the schools, our houses, and I guess that's a little bit extreme for some people, I understand. Let's put it a bit broader. Our village, the villages that we live in, the cities. If we all mutually had investment into these things, what need would we have to steal anything? because you're already being given your basic rights, right? Your basic necessities, a roof over your head, food, a job. That's all you need to be able to do. Autonomy over your own work life. It's so valuable. Capitalism, we can see people work all around the clock to pay for a car that they don't drive, a house that they're never in. We know this thing, right? So socialism aims to get rid of land ownership, which creates this need for the working class, right? Without that dictator, we don't need to do this, right? But unfortunately, he doesn't recognize how often he needs us, and this is why we have unions, because it helps advocate for the people that are working and getting their rights equally heard, right? Making sure that their voice matters within their company, because I don't know, a lot of people don't agree with unions. Couldn't care less. I think they're great. I think they're necessary, and it's needed when employed, right? We can't just be getting sacked for no reason. We can't be getting 0 hour contracts just to be pissed off next time that someone does a better job than you and they get your hours. In an environment right now where there's stuff like sexual assault within the workplace harassment. How comfortable are you going to a boss and saying, hey, this is a problem, and not getting negative consequences from that? So unions just allow for that to happen. And unions, by the way, are the reason that you have a weekend. Because people, when people used to work, it was 7 days a week. It was children working. Unions stopped children working. We like unions and we like socialism, but a lot of people believe that socialism is communism. And again, I believe that communism is the biggest lie told to people in this day and age, because it threatens capitalism so much, and the people that thrive from capitalism are your billionaires, are your people at the top of the triangle. When we talk about economics and societies, we see society as a triangle, right? Your richest people are at the top and there's less of them, and your workers and the people with less money are at the bottom and there's more of them. Marxists understands that this is not you cannot get to the top based on meritocracy, meaning that the harder you work, which is what's portrayed in capitalism, the more hard work you put in, then you will climb to the top of this triangle. Really, it doesn't work, right? Because when you have things like nepotism, when you have things like offshore banking accounts, when you have tax havens, when you have things put in place to keep the wealth at the top, this idea of growing out of hard work makes no sense. If you think that Elon Musk works harder than the average working class person, I hate to break it to you, the average working class person doesn't have time to sit on Twitter all day. They don't have time to be tweeting things on X or whatever you want me to call it. How hard you work in this life does not bring you to the top of the triangle. It will not bring you into a higher class of person, unfortunately. And we see that these structures are put in place systemically. When someone says that's systemic, that's what they mean. That it is in place through this system to maintain what's happening, to maintain the money here and not so much down here. Feminism, we know feminism, they basically sees, if you can imagine a line that goes here, and we call that the glass ceiling. And that's the idea of, we're told that we are equal to men. We can work, we can burp in public, we can be, as equal to our male counterparts as we like. But it's all kind of smoke and mirrors, right? We know that we can't get there. There's a lot of rhetoric about women who try to do that and they get told that they slept their way to the top. Again, who is allowing a woman to sleep their way to the top? If I owned a business, there is no woman that could get any amount of cleavage out that would convince me. But that's because the vast majority of these big businesses are not owned by women. So if you have men in these positions that can abuse this power, you bet damn sure well that they will find them. Now you see, I have issues. If you work harder, you don't profit. The more you work, the better off financially you are in a capitalist world. If you work harder, you don't profit. The more you work, the better off financially you are in a capitalist world. So you say that. I don't think I fully understand quite how you've worded it. Working harder doesn't necessarily bring us the best. So a really good example of that right now online is if you have a video go viral, you can get all the opportunities that life brings you. Huck to a girl. Who remembers her? Bet on that thing. She didn't even create that content. She was just interviewed, said something funny. Within a few weeks, she had a podcast, the biggest podcast, beat Joe Rogan's. She was getting brand deals. She managed to do a crypto rug pull. All these opportunities came purely out of luck. And when that 15 minutes of fame offers you them opportunities, then you take them, right? That's when that happens. But realistically, the harder that you work, bye. I was just saying bye.
I've sent you an email about you.
Oh, brain injured me. What was I talking about? Yeah, so often the harder that you work doesn't materialize this way. And that, I wish it was. And I'm sure you can think of many instances where, like, the harder I put into studying for this exam, the better the result I got, 100%. But what I then want to look at is, where were you doing that test? Was it at school? Because if it was at a school that, say, is a state school, owned by the council, owned by your local community, and it's not a private school, what are the opportunities that you can then get once you've got that good mark? Because then you're going to be going against kids that went to Cambridge, that went to Eton. These schools create the elite. They create the bourgeoisie, if you like. And again, they instill, because they teach them different lessons. I know at my school, I was never taught how to debate. I was never taught about banking investments and stuff like that. My friends that went to the grammar school in Loughborough, literally down the road from my school, were taught these things. They were taught how to be confident, to ask questions. They were exposed to a lot richer kind of education, and I don't necessarily mean just money wise. I just mean the amount of resources that they could offer. And it really propels private school kids into having a much better position when it comes to working life. If you're applying for a job and they can see that you're from Oxford, Cambridge, you're proving that you have this seal of approval, right? And quite often, this can be brought against you. And I'm not saying there's not times when someone will look at that and think, you're a rich school kid that isn't going to work for your money. I don't want that. That does happen. But the amount that happens compared to the amount kids that have better opportunities are getting further opportunities once it comes to their next stages in life, that's where it becomes a problem. And this idea of it just doesn't. I know for my mum, her dad, for example, my granddad was the chairman of Chrysler, the car manufacturer, and he was the top of his game, rolling in it. When he got to, I think it was about his 60s, it was just time for him to leave this job. And he had a lot of money, but that didn't mean anything. He just wanted to work. No one's going to hire you when you're in your 60s, no matter how hard you worked at that last job. The idea of hiring someone for a few years, or you don't know how long you're going to be, it's just not the investment that a business owner wants to make. Something that socialism would cancel out. You are all should be entitled to a job. Um, when it came to him, what he did with that money, he, because he couldn't work, he started to drink, and he hadn't drank his whole life really. He'd been working really hard, so alcohol hit him very quickly, and within I think a few years he'd got cirrhosis of the liver and he passed away. And a woman that he'd met during that time, that wasn't my nanny, um, had all of his money left to her. Yeah, I mean it. I could have been in the money right now. I could have not been here preaching about socialism because I'd have the money being like, no, I'm keeping it. So thankfully for my parents, my mum's history, I've been blessed with absolutely sweet FA, and it gives me this perspective. But I jokingly say that because if for whatever reason this takes off, I'm the next internet sensation, I get a ton of money, I would still have these same views that everyone should have better standards and everyone should have more money. And it's just kind of the juxtaposition of a socialist. As you're talking like this while you're poor, people are like, oh, you're just jealous, you've not got any money. If I was to make money and still say the same thing, they'd call me a hypocrite. They'd say like, oh, how have you got nice things? I thought you were a socialist. And socialism doesn't mean not having nice things. Socialism means everyone having nice things, everyone having the autonomy to be able to do things. Everyone, but hard work does pay off if applied properly. And in terms of your own personal development, your own goals, hard work is fantastic. Does it allow you to move up in society and to every time earn more money, be financially more stable? Not necessarily. I'm trying to think of a much better example. Yeah, I feel like a best way to look at it, right? I realised my brain, I just paused there. I went mentally and saved the world, and I've come back again. Looking at how much money there is in the world and how it's spread across this. When you realise that someone like old Elon Musk, right? He's talking about how certain things need to be changed in America, and it needs this certain cuts have been happening to try and pay for this, right? Cutting federal aid, absolutely insane, so that he can pay for these changes. He has enough money in his that he's like worth. He has more money than to be able to fix America 5 times over in terms of financial problems. And when you think, oh, why should he? It's his money. The difference in money, so £1,000,000, let's get this right. Let's get this right. Oh. So 1,000,000 seconds is the roughly equivalent to 11 days, right? 1,000,000 seconds. So imagine that's That's in pounds. 11 days. That's how that equates to. In your heads, then, try and work out for me what a billion seconds is. If a million seconds is roughly 11 days, close your mind, try and think, how many days would a billion seconds be? If you think you've got an answer, I'm going to tell you now, it's 31 years. So I am of the opinion, belief, that there should not be any billionaires when there are people that are on the street suffering from addiction, suffering from austerity. Literally, people are struggling so much right now across the world. And then there's, so 31 years is a billion. Imagine having 266 billion. How many years is that? Do you know what I mean? That is enough to finance this and 3 more Earths worth of people. Do you know what I mean? It's unfathomable. And another aspect to it is I don't believe that you can ethically make that much money. I realise I'm going on for an hour and 40 now, and I will start shutting up. Like, to be able to make, like, are you cutting costs? Because to be able to grow economic growth, right? That's the aim of capitalism. Economic growth, we always hear about it. It's really important. Economic growth. How much further can we grow our economy? When you are producing goods, paying people to manufacture them, paying people to send them out, paying people to source the materials, how... Every time I say it, it starts making me mad. It just makes me so angry. There is no way of ethically making £1 billion without making your product cheaper, worse off for the consumer, or treating your staff less conditions than they morally deserve. So Amazon's a great example of this. You can see this playing out very well, that you can get next day delivery. It is often the cheapest place that you can buy things. But then we look at the work conditions of these people. They're not allowed to go to the toilet. They're not allowed days off. Ambulances are called something like 30,000 times a year across Amazon sites. I know there's a lot of people working in Amazon. There's a lot of people working in the NHS, in Buckingham Palace. Ambulances are still not called anywhere near as much as they are to an Amazon branch. And I think that's a little bit telling, right? That to be able to grow your economy, what they talk about in capitalism, means lighting the candle at both ends and really ruining it for both the worker and the consumer. Things don't last as long. They just don't last as long. So, before I continue another rant, I'm in the same boat. I lost my dad 2 years back. I'm so sorry. Through drink as well. But ultimately, it was his choice to drink. Choices are key here. Oh, and you know what? It's your dad, right? I can't imagine losing my own father to something so brutal. I'm lucky that when I tell the story about my granddad, that it is all purely based on being told this story myself, being able to see it as an older person looking back. I didn't live through that. I don't know what I'd do if I lost my dad to alcoholism or drug addiction, gambling, any of the things that we feel are choices, right? That they could have made the choice to do better. And I really hope that and I want to say this in the least offensive, most compassionate way, it's hard to understand because it's your loved one and you want them for all of your being to just do better and be there because it impacts you. Like, it impacts all of us. You can see all your loved ones suffering because your father is choosing to harm themselves. But I think it's where we do that when we misunderstand the true hold that addiction has on us. And this idea of it being a choice is a little more nuanced and a little harder to grasp for someone who hasn't had those struggles or has had those struggles and managed to bring themselves out of it. Gambling is the biggest killer of men, unfortunately, in terms of unaliving rates. And yes, I have to say it like that, else YouTube gets mad at me. Um, Addiction is a crazy thing. It alters the brain and how the brain works. Like I said, with brain chemicals, whether it's what you're naturally lacking in, for whatever reason, people start to use it to self medicate. People use it to shut out the noise, the trauma, to suppress feelings that they don't want to feel. Generations that are older, especially like my parents' age, like I said, they didn't have this information. Quite regularly, if someone said they were stressed, and still to this day, like, oh God, I can't handle this, I'm gonna have a glass of wine, I need to have a beer, I need to chill out. It's such a common thing for people to associate when they're stressed, and it makes it so easy to lean on that. As humans, we need to be able to self soothe. And this is the part that when we are stressed or we're working towards a goal, we still need to adopt that level of self soothing. It allows us to carry on, it recharges us to then go for our goals. It soothes our anxiety so that they don't get the better of us. And we do this in many ways. Some people just like family time, sat down watching TV with the kids, with the missus, or it's going out and doing something like fishing, relaxing the brain, being on your own. Maybe it's something like drawing, something very mindful like meditating, having a good meal, self soothe. It could be having a bath, washing your hair, a load of good self soothing things. Plays 18 holes, 100%. There you go. That is you self soothing. Um, unless you are competitively playing against friends. If you are there just to relax that day or that weekend, then that is your way of self-soothing. A lot of people self-soothe and they learn to self-soothe um, because they weren't taught a way to do it themselves. As children, we're taught how to deal with trauma, and if you were told to shut up and put up with it, or your parents simply weren't there if they were busy working, not necessarily meaning to be neglectful, but just weren't there, then it's hard for you to adapt this ability to self soothe. So we fall into the patterns of negative ways of self soothing, whether it's drugs, self harm, um, random sex with everyone, gambling, um, picking your skin, um, just generally not looking after yourself. It's not good for us, and it takes a hold on you. And it's almost like there's a really common thing with everyone that I have spoke to that suffers with addiction, and it is that need to feel connected, to feel like they're okay. And a lot of us can get this from connection, from affiliation, whereas a lot of these people struggle to get that. Even if it's available to them, they don't know how to sit and talk and have that be self-soothing. To them, They would rather just disappear, go and get drunk, go and hide, go and, avoid all of their responsibilities, avoid any feelings, avoid any emotions that they don't want to feel. So, I know it's really hard to digest. I'm sure the grief that you, whether you're still going through 2 years later or you have gone through, have processed. But I hope that my words can kind of ring home to you to sort of help you to alternate that perspective, because you owe yourself to be a lot more compassionate about that situation for yourself, not for him, for him as well if you want to, but this is solely a practice for you, because having that idea of he made this choice internally, we can take that on as, even though I am their son, even though I am their daughter, they made that choice above me. Physically doing that, yes. To you and how it feels, yes. Trying to understand that they weren't consciously going, nah, F that, I'm just gonna do that. It's not good for your healing. And the chance of it being true is very slim. There is a good chance that that is all your dad knew to do. And that's a real shame, right? We need to be able to talk to these people, talk to your own dad. But when they're not here, what do? That is the time to try to look back on it in the best way that you can and honour him in the best way you can, which isn't easy to do. There is no fix, there is no cheat code. There's 18 holes though, and I bet that helps. Super competitive and need the challenge. Well, get yourself one of these. In July is Tough Mudder. Come and join us. July the 5th, I believe. We'll be training, getting ready all this year. If you want to open yourself up to some new challenges, we can do that. And yeah, I appreciate your kind words. Can we bring the subject back round to the aliens building the pyramids? Yeah, I love that. You know what? I'm going to write this down and then I'm going to leave you to it because I actually have my next appointment. Which actually, I'd like to stay here a little longer. It's been fun. But aliens building pyramids. Come back here, if you will, on Wednesday at 12 p.m. and we will talk about aliens building pyramids. And I hope you're going to come with the juicy stuff because I want to learn something here too, you know? Wait, hold on. I could have been pretty this whole time with a filter. What is this? What is this? Right, let me go. Have a lovely day, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. If you want to get hold of this, www.adifferenthumandesign.co.uk. We've also got a ton more other resources to help you. There is one on anxiety that is fantastic. It's I don't have any examples here right now, but they are written in a way that is great for all ages. If you're old enough that you can read it on your own and work through it, it's kind of like a comic book style that you can understand better. It's just psychoeducation. But if you're younger, then working with it, with kids, with your kids, whether you're a teacher or a parent, are fantastic. There's one on ADHD, there's one on anxiety, and also the 5 senses. I can most certainly put it in a link in the chat. Free. It says ADHD support. It's free all support. That's the beauty about our shop. is you can buy the guides, or you can download them for as little as, I think it's the main £1.11. Let me see if I can show you anything here, and then I'll post it around. So this is our website. This is in the shop. These here are digital prints. You can see there, Harness Anxiety, a digital guide. We have the basic 5 senses, and a load of other ones from the podcast as well. There's one on autism, identity. What are all these on? Habits. Something about Valentine's. That sounds interesting. I do remember that. But also, you can get them here, and this is what they look like inside. So by ordering this, I believe this is your ability to get a real copy, or you can get them online at Amazon. But this is what they look like inside without showing too much detail. This is the anxiety one. And it doesn't matter if you start reading it here or if you start reading it down here, it will all make sense. It doesn't, you can read it from this part upwards and backwards, and there's loads of bits you can fill out. It's fantastic. We really like them, and I felt like the general resources that are available right now from the NHS are just a little bit dire and not that great. So if they can help at all, please go ahead. Down as little as 88p if you wish, or get yourself a physical copy, whichever works best for you and your financial abilities. So let me get the link for this, and I will post it in the chat and also put it in the description. Copy, put that in there. And from that website, you'll be able to find a load more information on us as well. We do our best. We do what we can. And I will be back on Wednesday. This Thursday is the normal podcast from 7 till 8 p.m. Lindsay will be back here joining me, but we won't be here. I think we're going to be running. How that works as a live stream, I'm not sure, but we're going to do it. We're going to run. Girl doesn't run, but we need to get in shape for Tough Mudder, and we'll be running with a load of people who do run and do know what they're talking about. So if you're looking for any guidance or information yourself about being healthy, there'll be some people that will give you some insight. But Wednesday, aliens building pyramids at 12 p.m. Please come and join us. Come and join me and Dwight Schrute. That's amazing. I can't wait to tell everyone that Dwight Schrute joined my chat. So yeah, thanks very much, guys. Have a lovely rest of your day. If there's anything that I missed out or didn't answer, feel free to email me at adifferentpodcastofficial@gmail.com. I could put that in the thing as well. And in the long run, not what I meant to say. Have a lovely night. Have a lovely rest of your day. Peace and love. Thanks for joining. See you on Wednesday. Bye.